Hi.
Hello. Hi there. Bonjour.
Hey. We're just a few people here to tell you the story of Birdwing.
But first, you might want to know what happened before this.
Once upon a time, a long time ago.
Are we really going to tell it like it's an actual fairy tale?
Yes!
Fine.
Back to what I was saying.
There was a king lost in the woods, and he could not find his way out.
Then, an old hag wobbled up to him.
She offered him a way out of the forest, but there was a condition.
He was to marry the old hag's daughter and make her queen.
She was truly beautiful. She had fair pale skin and raven black hair. She also had blood red lips. What was her name, you ask? Well, her name was Evron.
Dun dun dun.
He was hesitant, but he was tired and hungry, so the hag let him out of the forest.
He was a widower with 6 sons and 1 daughter. The king always felt uneasy around Evron, keeping his children hidden away in a grand castle.
Really? I always imagined it a little smaller of a castle.
I always imagine it as a big gnome home.
Really? I always imagine it as a big crystal castle in bed with golden designs and glowed with rubies and diamonds and amethysts and emeralds.
Calm down. It was hidden. You wouldn't be able to hide that thing in space.
Well, that's how I imagined it.
Seriously?
How about we get back to the fairy tale?
Do we have to?
Yes!
Every day the king went to visit his children for many hours in the unknown structure. He always threw a magical ball of yarn to follow, and it would lead him to the structure.
Everyone always wondered where the king had gone for so many hours.
To find out where the king had gone, Evron showed one of the old servants all of her potions and vile ingredients.
Oh yeah, did we mention that she's a magical enchantress, aka a witch?
The servant was petrified and told Evron everything. He told her all but one thing, the daughter, Rose.
Everyone fashioned 6 enchanted shirts, 1 for each son.
Evron followed the magical string to the hidden path down to the unknown structure, where all of the sons lived.
The boys opened the gates and ran out thinking it was their father who had come.
She threw the shirts onto each boy, transforming all of them into gorgeous swans.
I wonder how turning into a swan would feel.
I think it would feel like you're in this whole new world and that you didn't really know anything about it.
I would feel the nude.
Ew, gross. I think it would feel like I was covered by a thick feathery blanket.
While in the nude,
Claire!
Sorry.
Anyway, back to the story. Not knowing what to do, the brothers flew away into the distance.
Little did everyone know that their sister had seen the entire thing. The next day, the king went back to see his children, but only the daughter was there to greet him.
the king asked where her brothers were, and she told him that a woman with raven black hair and blood red lips turned them into swans.
The king didn't believe her, so she showed him 6 white feathers from each of their wings.
Terror trembled over the king. He grabbed his daughter and said to come back to his castle.
She said that she must stay and wait for them in case they come back.
The king agreed to this, but she said she may only stay for one night.
The next morning, the princess packed a loaf of bread and a jug of water and set off to the forest to find her brothers.
When the king had come to fetch her, she had vanished. They searched for hours, but the princess was gone, as if the dark woods had swallowed her.
The king fell to his knees and sobbed. All of his 7 children were gone.
The princess was exhausted and found a small hut where she decided she would spend the night.
It had 6 beds and a sturdy wooden table where there were 6 silver spoons and 6 round plates.
It's pretty rude just to walk into somebody's cottage uninvited.
Anyway, she fell asleep on the hard wooden floor, not wanting to make the beds messy as being as she was.
When she woke up, it was dark, but there was a small lamp where she saw 2 swans fly through the window.
4 swans were already waiting inside. They all started to hiss at each other.
The princess recognized them as her brothers instantly.
The brothers cried, saying that she must go, but she insisted to stay with them.
They explained that only a portion of the day they are humans.
Desperately, she asked for a way to save them.
After a moment of hesitation, the eldest brother Bran stepped up.
She was to fashion 6 shirts of starwood and nettle.
For 6 years, she was not allowed to speak, laugh, or cry.
The starwood would fall apart and the nettle would scratch and sting.
Finally, she could never reveal her reason for silence to anyone.
So off she went. She promised her brothers that after the 6 years were up, the 6 shirts will be finished.
Then one day she was weaving along. A handsome red-haired prince galloped up to the tree she was perched on.
He climbed up the tree and asked the silent maiden to come with him to his castle and be his bride.
That was a little sudden. They didn't even know each other, and now they're getting married?
But the prince's mother found her sketchy, for she did not speak.
One particularly romantic night, they decided to get it on and do the do.
For her first child, she did not speak, laugh, or cry.
Imagine not screaming through childbirth. Yeesh.
While Rose was asleep, a black-cloaked figure stole the child.
Smearing blood on Rose's mouth.
The following morning, she was accused of eating the babe.
But the prince denied this, refusing to let her be accused.
The same happened with the next child, but he continued defending her. On their third and final child, after it happened again,
The prince could no longer defend her. It was decided that she would be burned to the stake, for they thought she was a witch.
She only had to finish the left sleeve on the smallest shirt, and the 6 years were finished on that day.
As the fire was lit below her, she saw 6 swans fly overhead.
they landed in front of her, and Rose threw the shirts on each swan, transforming them all into their former selves, except for the youngest brother, Ardwin. His left arm was replaced with the swan's wing.
She ran into her brother's arms after they released her from her restraints.
Rose finally shouted out after 6 long years of silence, "I didn't do it. I'm innocent."
The prince quickly defended her as well.
But there was still a question lingering. Where did all the children go if Rose didn't eat them? A knight stepped forward. The queen forced me to take the children, but I've kept them safe.
The queen was immediately apprehended. With a heavy heart, the prince declared the queen to be burned.
You all know what happened next. They all lived happily ever after. Almost!
Now, what happened to the littlest boy left with one wing?
This is the story of Ardwin, the child with the wing.
Ardwin grew up to be a broad-shouldered, dark-haired young man with a talent for archery.
He was unbeatable by all except for one boy.
Conrad.
Conrad was quite the bully, always mean, nasty, and scorning Ardwin just as the people of the land.
The reason Ardwin would always lose was because at the end of every competition, they had to shoot geese. However, he could not bring himself to shoot geese.
Now why? Why couldn't Ardwin shoot geese?
Well, Ardwin's wing let him have a special ability.
He could not only talk to animals, but his wing pulled him towards nature, instinctively, uncontrollably.
One morning, Ardwin invited his 2 friends, and only friends, Stefan and Sky, to show his power. The wise old snake Ardwin often confided in came to meet him.
The strange feeling the snake brought enchanted yet confused Stefan and Sky.
But little did they know, Conrad was watching from within the trees.
The following day, Ardwin went to meet the snake.
But he was decapitated.
Dun dun dun.
Poor little snaky.
Animal abuse!
Ardwin knew instantly Conrad had done it.
He went on a fit of rage, and when he found Conrad, it quickly became, well, quite the test.
Hormonal males. Joy.
Ooh, wouldn't want to be in the middle of that. Wouldn't he get into a lot of trouble if he was in a fight?
Well, he did. Lou, his father, was furious.
Man, oh man, was he mad.
He really got quite the lecture.
That night, King Lou informed Ardwin that King Ulfis was sending missionaries?
Well, I'm pretty sure it means messenger, aka an olden time diplomat with less negotiation.
They had a marriage proposal and a special demand.
Wait, before we go on, shouldn't we tell them a bit about Ulfis? Well, he lost his family, he turned crazy, and he's still crazy. Well, I guess if you want to put it that way.
In the past, Lou and Ulfis had, a little kerfuffle.
Anyways, Lou said that Ulfis was coming with a proposal.
And he wanted Ardwin to meet with them.
That night, Ardwin lay awake in bed, unable to sleep, his mind heavy with the thought of swans and marriage. He thought of his father. Something was amiss.
Ardwin decided to travel far to the swans because he thought maybe that he'd be accepted.
He slipped downstairs and in the dining room found a golden arm inlaid with magic.
Shocked and scared, he decided to start his journey that night alone.
Taking an old sword, a family heirloom, and gathering his supplies, he took his most reliable horse.
But before he could leave, Stefan and Sky showed up before him.
They demanded that he take them, and after a bit of arguing, he gave in. Now, Ardwin had a little bit of a crushy-poo on Sky.
Ooh la la.
He had a little bit of a plan for him and Sky, but he only thought about it.
Oh, love. Ardwin told them that they were going to travel to Rosa's castle for a rest stop.
So off they went to travel to the Swans. Their journey was long, but they finally made it to Rosa's castle. They were welcomed by Rosa's 3 children, Annie, Vector, and Harry.
The children loved his wing, but he saw it as a curse.
That night, Ardwin got into a fight with Rose.
He blamed her for making him this way, for not being able to complete his shirt.
Rose fought back, saying that she tried her hardest, and if she didn't do what she did, no one else would. There was silence, and Ardwin apologized for what he said. He hated seeing his sister cry.
Later that night, Ardwin talked to Connor, Rose's husband, about his crush on Sky.
He told Connor about his plan to take Sky with them to the Swans and let Stefan travel back on his own.
The next day they left with the new gifts Rose gave them: a cloak, a spear, and a helmet.
They continued to travel, but Ardwin couldn't get himself to tell Sky how he felt.
That night, right before bed, Sky gave Ardwin a peck on the cheek, making him certain about his crush.
He fell asleep, but then woke up in the night. Sky and Stefan were nowhere to be seen.
Looking around, he found Stefan and Sky covered by a blanket, with bare, naked shoulders. Ardwin was furious and hurt. I mean, why wait to lead him on?
You mean they were mating?
In the wild.
Yum. They're such horrible friends.
Anyways, Ardwin leaves with Raven, Stefan's horse. Ardwin goes on to continue his journey to find the Swans, alone.
You could say that Ardwin's journey was pretty normal.
Except for the fact that Ulfus sent men to kill him.
Oh yeah, that happened, but he didn't die.
After that kerfuffle was done, Ardwin needed a place to rest, so he found a tavern called The Rack.
Ardwin walked in and got introduced to a strange but nice Mr. Bluestone, the tavern owner. He was obsessed with Ardwin's spear. He got showed to his room, then came back upstairs to eat.
Mrs. Bluestone, the terrible cook, made salty venison that could only be washed down by the ale.
And amongst the loud dinner singing and the terrible taste, he noticed 3 men talking about spying and tracking for kings to get money.
They were suspicious and scary.
The next day, Ardwin thanked them for the good food and room, and then left immediately. Finally, after some more traveling, Ardwin had traveled at the Bay of the Swan. Completely exhausted from his journey, he built a small hut to sleep in.
Mine filled with dreams and acceptance and love.
The following morning, he met with the Swans, prepared to be loved.
But instead, they were rude, selfish monsters.
All Ardwin could hear were the cries of swans shouting to protect the cygnets.
What are cygnets?
They're baby swans!
Why? Why was he treated this way? He thought that the wing would make them accept him.
But the swans were acting just like humans, self-centered and judgmental.
On the way there, he met a random walrus.
He was kind of random, but he helped Ardwin get his thoughts reorganized.
Filled with determination, he tried to talk with the swans once again tomorrow.
As he walked up to them, he was met with a giant army of raging, chanting swans, warriors.
Ardwin had enough of this foolishness. He was done being called ugly and a freak.
Spitting out words that spoke the truth, that they were rotten to the core, he was chased away.
Taking Raven with him, the swans chased him up the mountain, trashing his hut and bombarding him with pecks.
They continued until he was far away, settling for good he may never return.
We can't say his day got much better after that. He was thrown about in a snowstorm, lost within the icy flurry. White was just not his color.
That night, his house was a small cave dug into the snow as he tried to stay warm.
Now, have you ever heard that dreams are prophecies?
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Arwen had a bad dream that Raven was eaten by a vicious and hungry lion.
He checked on Raven and saw everything come to life. Raven was dead, but the snow lion was still hungry.
Can't you just imagine the blood gushing everywhere?
Anyways, the snow lion attacked, but Arwen managed to pull out his spear just in time to pierce the snowy beast.
After that small tussle, Arwen lost consciousness.
As time passed, Arwen finally woke up in bed he was not familiar with.
How did he get there? Where was he?
That is when Arwen met Belarius the wizard. It seemed that Belarius' powerful automaton bodyguards had found and saved him.
Now, he was resting in the safety of an old wizard's fortress.
Man, being a wizard comes with a lot of perks.
They even held the same hatred for Ulfis. During dinner that night, Belarius wouldn't stop ranting about him.
Being the kind of man Belarius was, he offered Arwen the option of staying at the fortress for as long as he wished.
During that time, Arwen trained, learning how to control, as well as how to put his wing to good use.
It was now a weapon of mass destruction!
No. It was just a spear lashed onto his wing.
Oh.
Continuing on, Arwen had a
Wait! Wasn't something happening to Stefan and Sky about right now?
do we really need to bring them up?
I guess we can't leave them alone forever.
Fine, right about now, they were caught by loose guards and brought home. Yay.
Okay, back to what's important. Arwen had a dream one night of the time when he was young, and he had saved everyone from Bran's sword.
It was a strange dream, but his dream gave him the intention of continuing his journey.
That same night, Belarius foretold from the stars that Arwen would find what he was searching for on his journey.
That following morning, he had told Belarius and was set to go.
Before Arwen left, Belarius gave him a special horse, named Horse. Horse wasn't like any horse. He was the horsiest one of all horses.
He started his journey again with Horse.
Luck had finally come to him that day. Well, maybe it was luck.
In the distance, he saw the silhouette of a woman. As he neared, Arwen realized it was Everon. She set down a choice for him. He could either be a swan or a man.
Baffled that what he had been searching for was placed in front of him so suddenly, he had no response.
He wanted to say man, every fiber of him did, but something held him back. Silence filled the space between them.
It wasn't long before everyone lost her patience, turning into a snowy owl and flying away.
Leaving Arwen with a suggestion that his wing was a blessing, not a curse.
At that moment, he wanted to say man, but it was too late. She was gone.
Arwen was disappointed. However, with no choice, he started wandering again.
That day, he had some genuine good luck. The two travelers had found an apple orchard.
Horse was happy because, well, horses, apples, you get the equation.
But Arwen, he was happy because he found a goose girl pleasing to the eye.
Goose girl?
No, not an actual goose. She was a girl, a very pretty girl, surrounded by lots of geese.
Arwen walked up and attempting at making conversation, but I don't think having a girl pointing at a spear is the best way to start.
And the only thing he could think of was asking her where the nearest inn is.
He was awkward, really awkward, and it didn't take long for him to stamp her off.
He didn't even get her name.
Horse thought he was pathetic.
When he arrived at the inn, he overheard 4 men talking about killing Horse and Goose Girl, which was the name he assumed that girl was.
He was furious and declared a fight, but Arwen was way over his head and they almost beat him to a pulp.
Before the 4 men could do anything, the horse came and saved the day.
Isn't Horse just awesome?
Definitely!
Arwen and Horse won that battle and the 4 guys backed off, but little did they know those brutes who had one more trick up their sleeve.
That night, Arwen camped out in the woods, passing by a pond. He saw the girl again. That was when he got her name.
She had told him with a warm voice, Aline.
The next morning he had gone to see her again, but he didn't find her.
Instead, he found a goose wing stuck into the ground with a spear pointing towards the direction of what Arwen knew were her kidnappers.
With an enraged Arwen and not so enthusiastic Horse, they went off to save Aline.
While Arwen was traveling to the site, coyotes' howls could be heard in the distance.
It occurred to him the horses of the 4 men had run off.
Aline, even bound, kept a strong mind. Finding a knife in her back pocket, she silently cut the ropes.
Knowing she couldn't escape just by running, she laid low and awaited her chance. When one of the men word came to pick Aline up, she lashed out at him, cutting cleanly across his face.
Just then, a white snowy owl charged in, digging his claws into his neck and batting his head with its wings.
Whoa!
Whoa, Claire!
Another man came to see what all the yelling and noise was about.
Seeing his chance, Arwen threw Aline's spear through the man's heart, inevitably killing him.
Just then, Arwen felt the sensation of being lifted off the ground.
The third man, Nard, held on so far that none of his weapons could reach him.
Then smashed his body to the ground.
He felt weak and his wing was bent awkwardly. Paralyzed, he was about to give in.
Yet something flashed across his mind.
Nard, filled with rage, lifted a large club, ready to kill Arwen.
Suddenly, filled with energy, he raised his wing to easily block the club.
Wow, isn't that convenient?
As he was about to attack again, a large brown bear bit Nard's head off, rendering him dead.
Arwen's battle had ended. Meanwhile, Horse was slashed open, blood spewing everywhere.
Horse!
But Horse is brave and powerful, caving in the man's head with a powerful kick.
Yay!
The battle had ended.
Arwen then hurried over to comfort a sobbing Aline.
Then he checked on Horse. He was badly wounded. Arwen somehow managed to stop Horse's bleeding with grass.
However, that was not the last person he had to check on. There was still one more person that he had to see. Nearby against a tree, the snowy owl, Everon, lay there dying.
And even then held her pride as she sang her dying verse.
I am the owl with the robiness sun.
Red breast of blood.
Now sing and be done.
I am the lady of wild things.
Everon am I,
the
ever on, the ever one.
Why did she help him with his battle?
Wasn't she twisted?
Wasn't she evil?
But even then, she was only repaying a debt. In exchange for Arwen saving her so long ago, she now saved him.
But it was more than just saving his life. She helped him see what he truly wanted.
He wanted to be a man with a wing. Content with his decision, she smiled weakly.
And with her last dying breath, she said sorry
To his brother,
to Rose.
and to him.
For that twisted life she had lived, she now met the unavoidable. She met death.
Everyone faded away, as did the final link to the old world.
For a week after that, Horse, Arwen, and Aline rested.
Oh, did we mention to make it clear that they actually murdered 4 people? That doesn't matter. Arden did it for love. It's not like they meant to kill them. They burned the bodies. So it's true love. Plus, nobody cared back then. Right.
Putting that subject aside, on the day they decided to set off, Horse found someone pleasing to the eye as well.
It was one of the horses of the 4 kidnappers. Her name was Mare.
That same day, Arwen proposed to Aline, asking her to go with him to his realm and become queen. Her reply? A resounding yes.
Hold up. They've known each other for like a week and maybe met like 3 times in between that. And now they're getting married?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it is true love.
He doesn't even know her last name, or where she's from, or her favorite color.
Like I said, true love.
Okay, putting murder instead of marriages aside, they had run into a few guards from Aline's realm.
By the way, Aline's also a princess.
And Arwen just found that out.
I know, right?
Anyways, Aline ordered the guards to inform her parents that she was safe and well.
Accepting that order, the guards left for the castle, leaving Arwen and Aline to continue their journey again.
It was a carefree and happy trip, laughing, smiling, even stopping at Mr. Bluestone's inn and Rose's castle on the way.
But all good things must come to an end.
Although he was greeted with love and acceptance coming home, the threat of war was sprinkled through the air.
Ulfus was enraged that Arwen refused to marry his daughter, and to make it worse, no one was able to kill him.
Arwen knew this was his fault, but he was prepared to fight. It would be his first time.
But knowing that he would need help, he wrote to Belarius, asking him for his assistance.
The old wizard hadn't chosen a side for a long time. He had remained hidden for so long, but now he stood beside Arwen.
When Ulfus' soldiers attacked, he was ready, commander of an army with an invincible automaton by his side.
As the enemy neared, he proudly raised his wing, signaling the beginning of the battle that would be easily won.
The moment Twinkle and Stefano stepped onto the battlefield, it was their victory. Powerful and invincible, the metal soldiers destroyed the enemy army.
In other words, they won.
Arwen gave them the option of surrendering, and they complied.
Along a warning for Ulfus, he provided them with food and water for the trip back.
The commander of the enemy army stepped up, a battle scar across his face.
As he bowed, one soldier's helmet dropped to the ground, one female soldier's, Aline.
She recalled her reoccurring dreams, her vague memories becoming clear.
The very commander was the man that had rescued her once when she was very young.
Remembering her past, tears fell like silent rain.
Arduin, completely oblivious to the situation, he asked Aline what she was doing there.
The commander started walking towards the sobbing princess. To everyone else, she was Princess Aline.
The chief knelt down, calling Aline by her true name.
Princess Gwenthefar.
Sister of Allison and daughter of Ulfis, she was indeed the lost princess of Ulfis' realm.
Shocked, Arduin didn't know what to think. She remained her usual self, claiming that she would forever be Aline.
Wait, so now she's the princess of Alphonse's realm?
Pretty much.
Talk about convenient.
And a slow round of applause for a perfectly fitted plot.
Oh, come on, guys. It's a fairy tale. Give it a break.
Fine.
After that...
Whoa, stop for a second.
What?
What exactly happened with Aline and her parents and stuff? I never really got that.
Well, to put it simply, she used to be Ulfis' daughter. And the first time she was kidnapped, she was rescued by the commander.
And then she was kidnapped again. This time no one saved her. So she was put in human trafficking and somehow ended up in the woods.
It was then her adopted parents found her and renamed her Aline.
Oh, I get it now, because when I was saying that line about Aline's past earlier, I had no idea what I was talking about.
Well, now that everybody's up to speed, we can finally complete this story.
Arwen and Aline were married, joining the two warring countries and avoiding an all-out war.
It was really a grand wedding.
Horace and Mare joined in.
Elvis and Luke became best friends.
Aline's adopted parents were there too.
Mr. and Mrs. Bluestone came as well.
Hilarious even found the bear that bit off Narg's head that they crowned the furry fuzzball the royal beast.
So no one cares that their kids killed like 4 people.
I just let it slide.
During the wedding, Aline threw the bouquet high into the air.
And it fell straight into the hands of Sky.
Oh, are we back to that couple?
Unfortunately, yes.
Whatever, I'm pretty sure Arduin made up with them anyways.
It wouldn't have mattered if he didn't.
Agreed.
Now to stop talking about those two, let's wrap this fairy tale up.
The festivities have died down and every last guest left.
Arduin and Aline spent their fall and winter in their realm.
Then before they knew it, buds had started popping up and the grass had turned green again.
One morning that spring, Lou had entered the dining room to discover a note.
Dear Father, the spring wind is blowing. We'll leave the Geldlings. They like it here. Watch for us, though I make no promises, in the fall. And watch over Aline's geese until then, will you? We're off for now. Your son, Arduin.
With a small chuckle, he decided to patiently wait for his son's return.
That day, a swan called down to Arduin.
He was a young swan, and he was kind. He was a swanling Arduin had saved long before his adventure began.
And the swan dubbed him a new name, Swanwing.